Welcome to our special coverage of the coronavirus pandemic here at BBC Africa. Today, we are discussing nutrition in relation to COVID-19. Now, since the global outbreak of coronavirus, there have been widespread claims on social media that certain foods and supplements can prevent or cure the disease. I am Maya Hayakawa, and this right here next to me is Ian Wafula. Ian, I'm really curious to know, what diet are you on right now?
I would be very enough to say that I've actually been having a balanced diet.
Oh.
And to help us understand the relation between nutrition and COVID-19, we're joined by Alice Ojwang, a nutritionist based in Kenya.
That's right, Ian. And also to help us sift fact from fiction, from the information that you get online, we're also joined by Tijani Mayowa, a fact checker from Nigeria. In fact, I want to get us straight into that conversation. Let's start off with you, Alice. Alice, there was a report that was released yesterday, the Global Nutrition Report, that said that those that are affected by malnutrition are actually at a higher risk of contracting COVID-19. Why is this?
Okay, this is because when we talk about malnutrition, it means insufficient food, insufficient nutrients. We know that, so that affects your immune system. And when your immune system is low, it affects you have a higher risk of contracting a condition, and you take also longer to recover. So it is very expensive when people are malnourished, people who don't have sufficient nutrients, are exposed to the virus.
All right. Alice, thank you so much for that. There's a slogan that's going around in Nigeria that says, hunger will kill before coronavirus.
Wow, that is such a shocking and heavy statement, Maya, don't you think? Actually, it goes to show you how dire the situation is. Mayowa is here to help us make sense of these numbers. Mayowa, you're a fact checker and you also deal with numbers. When you hear such heavy statements and also looking at quite a number of countries being listed as being listed as having low malnutrition, what does that mean for you?
Okay, for a place like Nigeria, of course, which happens to be one of the countries with the highest number of malnourished children in the world, these numbers do not just mean numbers. These numbers are children, their lives, their brothers, their sisters. They are people I've seen on the field many times, I've heard from, I've seen their... You basically feel like they are not going to live to see the next minute when you see some of them. So the reality here in Nigeria is stark. So when most of these reports are coming out, we see beyond the numbers, we see beyond the statistics, and we know that it puts a lot of young people at risk in Nigeria and of course across Africa. So these numbers are not just numbers, they are people to us.
All right, thank you so much, Tijani, for that. Alice, I'd like to ask you this question. On that issue regarding boosting immunity, are there certain foods that can actually help us boost our immunity?
Okay, let's first of all start by defining what the immune system is. So the immune system is a network of your cells, your organs, and your vessels working together to prevent you from viruses, bacteria, parasites, and fungi. And for you to have a good immune system, it has to be long-term. It cannot be short-term. So it means you have to eat certain foods over a period of time. The foods that have been identified as contributors to your immune system, they're actually referred to as the G bombs, meaning greens, beans, foods from the onion family, and of course seeds and nuts. So we have to eat a variety of these foods in their natural states. And of course, also your environment affects your immune system and your lifestyle. So you need to also be having enough sleep, drinking enough water, having sufficient oxygen, and doing some exercises. So that is why if you've not been having a healthy lifestyle, and then you take an onion or you take garlic and expect miracles, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
And Alice, you've just highlighted some of those tips on how you can boost your immune system. But then I'm wondering, what can the nutrition community as well as governments do to ensure that these communities actually have access to education and information surrounding nutrition and how important it is during this pandemic?
I think the government is responsible for actually providing what now we'd call the COVID response, COVID pandemic response. They need to organize nutrition education, health education, so as to educate people. I've seen a lot of people around in Kenya having conferences talking about food security, talking about stress management. Individuals have been doing this on their own, but of course, if you're going to target many people through radio and television, then you need the government to support these efforts.
Okay, thank you for that, Alice. Now, remember, we're taking in your comments on our Facebook Live. Now, we have our Facebook page, that is. We have Yona Sonko, who's asking, kindly discuss how vital vitamins and minerals are in the cure of COVID-19. Alice, do you want to take that to do with vital vitamins and also minerals as well?
Okay, so let's first of all not use the word cure, because we're not going to cure anything. When you have an infection of a virus, it means that your immune system under attack, and you have to take all the precautions to be able to get healthy. In short, so we cannot say certain foods cannot cure. When you have a virus, your immune system is the one that works hard to be able to kick off the virus from your system. So you need to do everything that helps the immune system. First of all, remember, why do we eat? We eat for bodybuilding, for energy, for disease, and for growth and development. So you need all your foods. You need your starches, you need your vegetables, you need your fluids, you need your fruits, you need your everything. And then, of course, you need sleep. So then that way, the virus will be kicked out of your system. Then we can say you're cured. But we can't say certain foods cure the virus. They do not. There's nothing like that.
Okay, thanks, Alice, for that. And there's also concern about, how staying healthy and also nutrition is kind of expensive, especially during this time when most people are not necessarily making money or staying at home. So how can you manage to work on your nutrition and staying healthy at the same time, kind of balance, the cost of it?
Good question.
Yeah, that's a good question. I think it's really a challenge because I know a lot of people who are not working now and they don't have enough. But what we do is we help people to budget with what they have. So if you have a certain amount of money, let me just give examples so that it can, for the Kenyan situation or even around the world. First of all, it's good to write a menu. What are you eating for breakfast? What are you eating for lunch? What are you eating for dinner? Ideally, right now, if you're staying at home the whole day, I realize that I actually can't have 3 meals a day. So if you're low on budget, then you can try to have 2 meals a day. You have your breakfast and then you have a late lunch, 3-4 o'clock. But what's important is to write menu, and the little money you have, do a budget. Let's say, for example, instead of buying soda, which I can tell you even people who live in the slum do, that money is going to be enough for you to buy some fruits. Banana is a very cheap fruit around the world, and it is very healthy and nutritious. Instead of buying meat, buy some eggs. It will last you longer, you can store it for longer, and you can feed the family eggs for a longer time. Instead of buying chicken, buy omena, herrings. That is a very cheap protein, very nutritious, very high in iron and other nutrients, and it will last you longer. And a little portion, maybe even 2 handfuls, goes a long way in feeding a family of 4 or 5. So ask for help with whatever money you have so that we can help. The other thing that's also very good, instead of buying rice, if you buy beans, if you had choices to buy 2 kilos of rice and 2 kilos of beans, I'd rather you bought the 4 kilos of beans, because the beans is going to provide you with the energy you need. And then also it has other nutrients and it is filling. So you don't have to eat rice with beans. You can just eat the beans and that's enough.
Okay, thank you for that, Alice. Now, other than the nutrition aspect of it, there's also been a lot of misinformation. What are some of the weird myths that you've come across, Maya?
Well, Ian, I've come across various YouTube videos, comments, whatever on social media. A lot of people are giving comments and information that they've come across that is proposing some of the things that you can do to prevent or cure coronavirus. And I want to throw this question out now to Tijani. There are a lot of myths and misconceptions surrounding food and nutrition and COVID-19. What are some of the myths that you have been able to debunk so far?
There have been quite a lot of them here on this side of the continent. Personally, there's this particular one that says that if you're eating onion with ginger, with garlic, in a certain manner, that you are going to be able to prevent and, of course, cure coronavirus. Now, I know that a lot of the World Health Organization says that there are some nutrients that come naturally with these food items, but prescribing any of those as a cure to coronavirus is going to cause a lot of problem across Africa, because we see the way people take things to the extreme. So I've been able to debunk a number of videos of this nature, and we've had some of them taken down on Facebook.
What tips can you give for people who are trying to sift through fact and fiction? How can they actually identify if something is factual and verify the information they're coming across?
So the first thing I say all the time is that we should approach every information we get as skeptics, basically not taking it in, not believing what we see on the surface. So when you find a piece of information about your health, I know at this point in time, people are looking for alternative sources of hope. So if they find anybody saying this is a cure, this is the way out, they want to take it. But when you find a video like that, the first thing to do is to search on maybe Google for the main claims made in that kind of video. So if it says, for example, that if you take certain amount of onions, you'll be free from coronavirus, put that claim out in Google. You would see a number of fact checks that have spoken about that situation. And if you don't find, you can go to the World Health Organization website or your country's Center for Disease Control, and you find advice on what and what not to do.
Now, Tijani, with those tips that you've just given us, perhaps maybe tell us what has been your experience, especially during, since the COVID-19 pandemic began, in terms of looking at the facts and looking at also misinformation out there. What has been your experience been like generally?
Okay, so since this whole outbreak, we've seen a heightened number of misinformation around health. So people are always trying to push a cure. Okay, let me give you a particular example that was striking. When it was found that chloroquine had shown some promise for treating coronavirus, a particular person went ahead, made a WhatsApp voice note, attached a picture of chloroquine, and sent it to numerous groups on WhatsApp. Went on to create a website for selling chloroquine as cure for coronavirus. Now, one of the things we also found was that the person gave a certain amount of, like a dosage basically to be used, saying if you use 500 milligram of chloroquine for 8 days, you would be free from coronavirus. Now, while the person is pushing that information on one end, the person has also set up a website to sell chloroquine on the other end. So at the end of the day, we see that a lot of persons are using this crisis to go through dubious means of making money. So for every piece of information you get about COVID-19 cure or whatever, the first thing you should think of approaching that kind of information is that this could be one person trying to get the better of me.
All right, Tijani, thank you so much for that. I'm also curious to find out from you, Alice, as a nutritionist, what are some of the myths that you have come across and that you've managed to debunk for people?
Okay, the one that seems to be circulating the most is the one about garlic, ginger, and lemon. But I also understand why people tend to want to use lemon, because when you have a lower immune system, vitamin C helps. And so people think when they are sick, they can be able to get in a lot of vitamin C that will help. I can say that for you to get sufficient vitamin C that is going to help you kick off the virus, you have to take almost something like equivalent of 16 lemons a day, which is not possible in real life. And so we go back to say you have to eat all the foods. Of course, I've also had had the myth about tea, black tea, and coffee. Just to let you know that for caffeine actually blocks absorption of nutrients. So when you take your tea, which is high in caffeine, and you keep taking it, you take it with food, it is dangerous. It's preventing you from absorbing other nutrients. So just stop it. Just stop the tea. But what I'd like to say, BBC producers for this program, is that thank you for doing this. I think, like my colleague has said, there has been so much misinformation. And of course, because we have internet, there is a lot of misuse. You're Googling here and people are taking advantage. And this is what we call the nutrition fraud. They're using nutrition fraud. They are selling you recipes so that you can get better. This is when the government needs to come in. The government needs to come in and use professionals to educate people so that they can control misinformation, because misinformation can kill. I can see there's something you say that a lady said she actually added zinc in a mixture to cure her child from corona. That is actually very, very dangerous. The kid got better because of other things, but not zinc. Zinc, actually, when you take in excess, it binds iron. It binds iron, so you become anemic. And so it means that you can likely die from the consequences of the zinc and not even the consequences of the disease. So I'm just begging people, please go to your health professionals, go to your doctor, go to the nutritionist, and all the health professionals and the nutritionists and dietitians listening out there. Have conferences. You can have Zoom conferences. My colleague and I are having conferences every week to be able to educate people on what is the right thing to do and just to answer people's questions. Thank you.
All right, Alice, thank you so much for that. Now, the World Health Organization is among health organizations that have been debunking misinformation on nutrition and COVID-19. Let's take a look at some of them.
And of course, we're looking at garlic. It says, someone asked, can eating garlic help prevent infection with the new coronavirus? Remember, these are responses by the WHO. What did they say, Ma?
They said here that garlic is a healthy food that may have some antimicrobial properties. However, there is no supporting evidence right now from the current outbreak that eating garlic has protected people from the new coronavirus.
Okay, let's take a look at the next one. And of course, remember, WHO is kind of a very reliable source at this particular point. Someone asked them, adding pepper to your soup, does adding pepper to your soup or other meals prevent coronavirus? And of course, WHO said it cannot prevent you from catching coronavirus. So let's now take a look at other comments. We're seeing most of you are simply asking about, the Madagascar cure. We shall come to that. But Maya, maybe you can talk about alcohol now.
Yeah, there's also this misconception here that about drinking alcohol. Some people have made claims that if you drink alcohol, it actually kills the virus. Now, according to the World Health Organization, they say that drinking alcohol does not protect you against COVID-19 and can actually be dangerous. And you know what's interesting, Ian? I came across this really interesting post that said and claimed that if you drink water every 15 minutes, then that can actually wash down the virus. Is that true? We're not really quite sure, are we?
Okay, yeah, we're not very sure, Maya. And let me bring in Tijani right now, because a lot of questions are coming in about the Madagascar cure. Tijani, are you able to tell us, the verification process, or if one wants to know more about a particular cure that is out there, what are some of the aspects or things that you should look out for, given that we have such an overflow of information?
Exactly. So at this point in time, the Madagascar cure is still in a trial process. So, for example, a lot of people are saying that the country has not recorded any deaths. It has about 50% recovery rate. It has less than 100 people, 100 active cases. I say that's good. It's some good news from that portion of it. But for us to be able to say that a particular mixture or drug is a cure, there has to be a process. And of course, for now, the World Health Organization is working with scientists, researchers, across governments across the world to try to get a cure. And of course, to do this, there has to be a trial process. So for people to take it, see what the outcome is, monitor them for a period of time. And when all that is done, and the world can come to a conclusion that this is a cure or not. So for now, the World Health Organization has not approved the Madagascar drink as a cure to the coronavirus.
All right, Tijani, thank you for that. Even as we wait for these organizations to verify some of these claims. So
I'm curious to find out what Alice, our nutritionist, has to say. What is the nutrition community kind of thinking about the Madagascar remedy?
Well, I think my colleague from Nigeria said it very well. It's for of course something. A solution or something considered to be a cure, it has to be taken through scientific steps. It has to go through clinical trials and follow up people. And we know that the virus is this COVID-19 it's a new virus with a new strain. They don't know what actually it involves, so it will take some time. So of course we work and support WHO organizations as a health professional.
all right, thank you so much, Alice, for that. Tijani, I'd like to throw out this question to you. Earlier on, you were giving some tips on how people can actually verify and fact-check information. Now, this one is from our Beku, who says, but isn't this fact-check process too long for the ordinary citizen? Aren't there any WhatsApp platforms that can set up to fact-check these information in real time? Briefly, what's your response to this? What role would you say that social media and the internet has to play in being able to fact-check in real time?
Okay, so the reality first, no fact-check is too long to keep you alive. Let's put that on one side. Then secondly, I feel like the social media giants are waking up to the responsibility of fighting misinformation on their platforms. Where we currently still have a lot of challenge is WhatsApp, where there's end-to-end encryption. So the question is privacy or health. So they are trying to find a balance and make sure you don't lose your privacy because some fact checker or independent guy wants to look at what is circulating here and there on WhatsApp. So Twitter said just yesterday that they were going to be flagging tweets or content that has any form of misinformation about COVID-19. So I feel like we are making progress. It might not be as fast as we want it to be, but there is enough time to stay alive and do the right thing.
Okay, thanks, Tijani. Now, when it comes to online misinformation, it can sometimes be difficult to spot what is true and what is actually false. So, in general, a claim is likely to be false if, let's take a look at them, if it recommends eating a specific food or drink, or might I take that?
Obviously, if it encourages restricting main food groups from your diet.
Or if it singles out a certain food over others to protect them or treat the virus.
You can also spot fake information if it includes catchy words like cleanse, cure, treat, boost, and detox.
Yeah, and of course, these are from a reliable source like the World Health Organization, and you have to make sure that a reliable source has been quoted on it for it to be verifiable. Okay, of course, we are taking some of your comments on our Facebook Live page. Maya, do you have any on your side?
All right, let me have a look at this. This person, Abu Kargobo, says, is there any proof to show that someone has actually recovered from COVID-19 and will not get it again? This is from Sierra Leone. That's a question that he's asking there. Alice, is there any word on that? Your final thoughts on that?
Okay, I have not heard about reinfections, so I cannot say that. But if we look at really what happens in science, if somebody gets an infection, let's say the COVID virus, what it does is you actually create antibodies. So it means that after you have had it, you're not likely to be reinfected. And we have not had any reports so far around the world.
Okay, thank you for that, Alice. Maybe Tijani, very briefly, your parting shot.
Okay, like I said earlier, I feel misinformation at this point in time, battling it is everybody's responsibility. This cannot be left to dedicated fact checkers alone. To stay alive, you have to get the right information and you have to do the right thing. Take responsibility for your life and every one of us will be fine at the end.
All right, thank you very much, Alice and Tijani, for making time for us this afternoon. Now, well, if that is it from us here, remember, if it is too good to be true, then it's probably not. Remember to question it.
That's right, Ian. And also remember that while you are using the internet and it may provide some good advice on nutrition and COVID-19, it's really important that you go to reliable sources for truthful information. Definitely, you can never go wrong in looking out for your health. And nutrition is an important aspect of that. But on that note,
stay safe and stay home.
That's right.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.